God, Woodrow, you just don't ever get the point, do you? It ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Filmmakers Focus. I'm Doc Kennedy. This week's special guest is Jeff Adams of The Jeff Adams Show, and we are talking live video streaming. And I love live streaming. I've been working in live streaming in one way or another for the last 8 years. And Jeff's going to share with us what we can do to help bolster our live streaming capabilities and what we can do when it comes to live streaming to help with our marketing of our films and projects. So that clip that we heard was from the movie Lonesome Dove. It's a mini-series. And what's important about that is what's said by Gus. He said, "It ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living." And I love that line. And when you know the backstory of it, you know that there's just so much to that. It ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living. I'm going to expand on this thought after the conversation with Jeff, so I encourage you to stick around for that. So a quick update on myself. Right now, I am recording this podcast with a microphone that was gifted to me recently. It's an Astatic CTM 27. And a very kind friend of mine just gave this to me. I don't know how old it is or where it's been, but I wanted to give it a shot and see what happens here. So, as with every episode, I try to cut out as much noise as I can. I do that in editing. And usually when I record with my other mic, which is a PV, and I don't remember the model number, but with the PV, I rarely have to cut out any noise, if any at all. It's a really good mic. And that was also a gift. That was gifted to me by my mother some years ago, way before I started podcasting. And so it's another one of those scenarios, and I held on to this a lot. Do what you can where you are with what you have. And I had that mic, and so that was what allowed me to start podcasting right away. But it's been really solid for me. So I'm interested to see how this tests up against that, and let me know your thoughts. You know, do you notice a difference or not? You know, I want to know those things. What I'm excited about is the opportunity to do more in-person interviews. So now that I've got 2 or 3 mics here, now I can start getting out and actually doing some stuff on the field. And in other news here, I had an audition yesterday in downtown Seattle, right by the Space Needle, right under it, basically. That was fun. Lots of people down there, carnival-type atmosphere. And, of course, there's this fun music going on. And that was a little bit different, trying to fight through that while I'm trying to do a dramatic scene. I managed, you know, but it definitely, it kind of added a different twist, I'll say that. But we'll see how that goes. It'd be a fun part. It's basically a modern-day Western. And as I alluded to earlier, I love Westerns. So with that, we will get to our conversation with Jeff. Again, stick around for the end. I have been adding little nuggets at the end. I don't know if anybody sticks around for it, but I do feel like there's some good stuff that we'll be able to hound on there. So with that, we'll get to our conversation with Jeff Adams.
And now our feature presentation.
Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, why don't you give us a little background of how you got into live streaming? Because this is something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I work in personally. So how did you get involved in live streaming?
Well, it goes way back. I you know, the broadcasting was always inside me. I mean, I started off in radio as a teenager, but I wanted to be a musician. So, I mean, there was a side of me that was never being fulfilled. And, you know, because I would go on these, when I perform, I would start talking in these long periods in between songs, and people and people enjoyed it. So I was like, I guess I was trying to live my broadcasting thing out through my music. And then, you know, from there I got into music management, ran a couple record labels, worked there, did pretty much everything in the music industry you could possibly think of. And but you know, back in 2007, I don't know, I just saw that, you know, first webcam came out on my computer. I bought a brand new computer, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I started like video blogging with it and talking about the music industry. And then I found all these abilities to live stream before anybody knew what it was with video. And there was like 3 three things. There was Mogulus, which is now Livestream. There was Ustream, and then there was what is it, Blog TV. And it was, and Blog TV was pretty cool because you could have two co-hosts way before, like, long live Blab, but Blab's gone now. But way before Blab even thought about it, someone already did it. But there was a small community, and I started like, hey, well, I can live out my broadcasting. So I started doing I don't know what I was thinking with the title. It was called the Sam 700 Show. It was a music industry show. And Sam 700 was my old school rap name. When I don't understand, I don't ask. It's just embarrassing. So I don't even know why I shared it on your podcast. But it was a stupid title in the first place. But I did it anyways because I think my Twitter handle was that, and whatever. It was the branding, because I was branding other artists. I was like, I had to stick to my, the way I do things. Sense. But yeah, so and I did that, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. You experiment, like I was taking back in the day, and it probably looked like complete garbage. But I would stream to Mogulus, which will live stream, and to Blog TV, and to Ustream all at the same time. People were like, how are you doing all that? So I always would try to find these hacks back in the day, but it looked like complete garbage. I didn't know anything about cameras. I was going off my webcam, but I didn't know about audio.
Okay.
Because my background in recording music and stuff, so my audio always sounded good. But the video just, it was awful. And then, and I realized I had a knack because one of my giftings is connecting people. Mm-hmm. And I was very successful in the music industry doing that. And so I found myself doing that with live streaming and connecting people. So one of the stories I hate to share is Brad from Ustream approached me in 2007. And said, hey, man, you're really connected in the entertainment industry and the music industry and the churches. Why don't you share our platform with these people that you're in contact with? And at the time, I had an artist breaking in Japan, had a lot going on. I was traveling a lot. And I just said, hey, man, I got ethics here. These artists are paying me to travel on their behalf to talk their business. They're all like contributing together. For me to just go there and talk about you guys when I'm on someone else's dime is not cool. Yeah. And they said, well, we can't afford to do any of that. How about we give you 20% of the company? And I was like, what? I go, man, I just can't. So, well, 5 years later, they sell for, I think it was $28 million. And then recently, I think they resold again. The IBM deal IBM acquired them, and it was close to, in the ballpark of, I think it was $100 million or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I.
So you would have been on some island right now instead of talking to me.
Yeah, and I got a story about the Jonas Brothers too. That I got a lot of stories like that. But anyways, I won't bore the audience with the stupid stories. But that's how my passion of live streaming came to be, and and I just realized, you have you just have something inside you when you're creative. That makes you tick, and when you're creative and you're not doing that, it makes it real hard to be pleasant. Some people just can't find the balance, and I found dealing with creatives a lot in my life, I can relate to them because most of them, when you're not creating, you're in some form of almost kind of depression, dark state, and obviously you can even mix that with your faith a little bit if you have faith in God. But sometimes even that with, if you're not doing what you're really supposed to be doing, you're kind of like trying to figure it out, and you're like scratching your head, and, it's just tough. So I just, I had a revelation. It's like, successful in the music industry, I'm going to take a risk after consultant labels, doing streaming stuff with my artists, doing live streams. I said, I know this industry really well. I'm going to take a leap. And I jumped out and had a lot of opportunity. I got a contract with NAB where I go out every year. That's the National Association of Broadcasters. Yeah. They hire me for my knowledge of the industry, and I anchor a desk. I interview like the CEOs of these companies building the technology that we use, like these microphones, these boards, anything audio, video related, I get to interview. And so that's how I kind of took the leap, and other jobs presented themselves. And then I started, 4 years ago, I changed the name. I started doing the Jeff Adams Show, which we started off on our own. And then I think Stephen Haywood from the Tech Buzz Network picked this up, and he was producing the show for a while, and then I ventured back out on my own. But we were a variety show. We just talked about pretty much anything.
That's awesome. So we'll swing back around and talk about that. To get back to live stream specifically, what do you see people doing right when it comes to live streaming?
I think that's a good question. I think more than likely what I see them doing right. I mean, there's no correct way to answer that, because I think no one really has that figured out yet.
Okay.
Because and I'll clarify what I'm saying, because it sounds kind of vague, but there's with this live streaming thing, it's pretty amazing to me, because you could have $100,000 studio look like $1 million like a TV studio, and creating great content, and then you have this guy down the street who just gets on his phone and just starts talking. The audio might sound bad, the video might sound bad, but you know what? People care what he has to say, and they are engaged. They are, mesmerized by what this person's saying. So I don't think there is the right way or the wrong way.
Okay.
It's just about your engagement, I think, and what exactly you're trying to say when you do a live stream. What's your target? What are you talking about? Did that answer the question good?
Yes. So let's take our audience specifically. A lot of these people have projects in the works, such as short films, features. How would you incorporate live stream in promoting that film?
Well, I mean, there's lots of ways. For one, I'm not going to get into branding, but if you're a social media expert, which everybody claims to be these days, you have a Facebook page for your movie, and that you should have been pushing for 2 years, so you should have some likes on it. Or you partner with a media company that's fantastic, and say, hey, can we come in and promote our new movie and live stream it on your Facebook page? You get the whole cast, directors, you have a sit down, and you talk about the film, show some clips, and use it that way. Or even if you're shooting something, you're shooting an indie film or major motion picture, wherever you might be. If you're shooting a major motion picture, hit me up and dock up, because we'd love the acting job. Really, I mean, even from your set, you could be streaming, giving behind the scenes. So yeah, there's this one guy I met at NAB. He used to listen to my show a lot, but he's an indie filmmaker out of Texas, and he's like, hey man, I just really encouraged him. He's like, I got to be doing something. If I'm not shooting films, I said, man, start a video blog. Mm-hmm. They started, like, the guy's knocking out of the park. Ever since NAB, he's doing a video blog every single day, and it's about behind the scenes doing indie films, the cameras, the jibs, the lighting, and anything you can possibly think of. And he's also mixing his personal life into it too, so it makes it really entertaining. He does like this 7-minute segment. So he's not live streaming per se, but I mean, you could be doing those things every day. It's free. I mean, you can get on Facebook Live, you can get on Periscope, and go at it, man. I mean, sky's the limit. If you don't like the way you sound on your audio, but most of the iPhones are not that bad audio.
Yeah. And
the video on your phones are great.
Yeah. Agreed. I do think people are kind of missing the boat when it comes to live streaming video. It's such a great marketing tool. Where do you see live streaming being 5 years from now?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's go. I see it. Mine's already that way. My Facebook feed is constantly videos. It's hardly anybody saying much of anything with, writing it out anymore. So, I mean, that's why I see it. It's taking the place of writing what you want to write. I mean, even the blogs. I mean, blogs will be around because people prefer to read. But, I mean, think about it. You got to really think about this, too. It's like when people started talking about, you need to blog, you need to start a blog. People are like, are you crazy? Like, businesses would say, what are you, nuts? Uh-huh. And now you're seeing this shift where, businesses, the company I work with, Enlightened Audio AV, we did some events with LG and went on their Facebook page and produced a show for them live on the floor, showing new TVs. And they realized their numbers went out the roof because we produced a high-end content for them. And they saw the value in that. They're like, wow. And they saw their numbers, spike up. Yeah. So, I mean, literally in 5 years, this thing is going to be in everybody's part of life. I mean, everybody's going to be video streaming. Now, the exciting part of it for people like me that kind of know the back end of it is I tell people, I go, think about this. If you're a musician or, if you're a filmmaker and well, let's go to filmmaking. It's a better analogy for your audience. BH photo, right? You consumed with BH photo, and you sit there and you look at that website and you go, oh man, I wish I could get that camera. I wish I could get the Blackmagic Ursa. You look at all these cameras, and that's what live streaming is going to do to people, because people are going to get this itch that have decent content that they want to do, and they're like, man, how do I get that lower third in my video stream? How can I get different camera angles? How can I? And they start looking. It's creating a hobbyist type of platform where people are spending money on getting their message out, or marketing. Businesses and with marketing people, they are spending money on this. They're building brand rooms, video streaming rooms, green screens to get their message across of what they're trying to do. And it's just, we could spend hours and hours of talking all the different things that people are doing. But in 5 years, if you're not doing it, you're irrelevant pretty much.
Yeah. No, I agree. So you just brought this up, people be looking for cameras. If there's people right now that are listening, they're thinking, okay, well, I don't like my webcam, or I don't like my phone, or however I sound like that. I want to take it up a notch, but I don't know where to start. Where would you send them first? What type of cameras should they be looking at? What type of setup should they be looking at to get like a solid jump out of the gates?
Yeah, well, okay, we're taking a step up from a webcam. So, anything for broadcasting, you don't need to go out and get I need to get a red camera, because primarily if you're doing a live stream, a red camera and 35 millimeter lens is not going to look the best for your broadcast. But there's cheap alternatives. It depends on your price range. If you really want to get a good looking camera that's kind of made for video streaming, is you can get I'm running a Canon Vixia, what is that? HF G20. Okay. It's like a step down from the Canon XAT. I had those in the old studio, but I couldn't really afford those. It's like $1,500. But I got this one used on eBay for $700.
Oh, nice.
It's and doesn't have any wear and tear on it. So that kind of camera. And then you need to look at, how do I get my camera into my computer to send it out? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can get a Blackmagic box. If you're in filmmaking, you probably know who Blackmagic is, but they make Thunderbolt ports, HDMI, SDI, depending on what camera you're using. You can plug the Thunderbolt into your computer, and basically to pick up your camera as a video signal. You can get a software called Wirecast. It runs about $400. I know that's pricey, but if you're really getting into this, you can start switching cameras, bringing that camera. You can use your old web cameras within Wirecast. You could have different camera angles. You can do lower thirds, and then how do you do that? Well, the only thing you can't do, people are like, well, how do I get on Periscope? I'll explain the streaming aspect of it as well. You can't, because they only allow you to get through your phone.
Okay.
But there is a thing called an RTMP feed, which is made to send a signal to wherever you're streaming. So with Wirecast, you can stream directly. They have a drop-down menu in Wirecast, and it will say stream to Facebook Live. You put in your credentials, and literally in minutes, you got to have, with the internet speed, you need 5 up. You got to check your internet speed and make sure that you have enough power. So you need, about 5 up to have a nice 720 video stream. And in minutes, you're on Facebook Live.
Cool.
And you're doing a higher end broadcast.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. So, I got a little geeky with you. I don't know if that was.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah, because, people want to know the ins and outs, and it's important to know what can be done, what can't be done, the workarounds. So just shifting gears just a little bit, because we're running a little low on time here, but
yeah.
I've been following you for a while, Jeff, and you and I have chit-chatted a little bit here and there, and you've had some struggles in life lately. And what's been encouraging to me is watching you go through some of this stuff that you're going through, yet being on fire for what the opportunities that you have in your life. And we talked about this a little bit prior to recording, but you said you'd be willing to share just a little bit about what's been going on with you. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, keep it real. Everybody everybody has their things they go through life, and I mean everybody. It just seems like everybody these days, or maybe it's just Facebook portraying that. But anybody I know has something that's happening in their lives. So, and I really encourage people too. It's like when I sharing this information, I'm not coming across as don't say woe is me, because I've kind of found my shift of how to manage my situation, and I've been, separated for a while, and I'm going through a divorce right now, and I've got 3 kids, and that's been really extremely hard to manage and cope with, and luckily with faith and friends and people that I talk to, I don't know if I can necessarily manage it, but it is very real, and it's a very tough thing to go through because, as a man, you don't. I guess what they say with women, they grieve the marriage before it's even ended. And men, when it happens, it's just like, even if it was bad, you don't realize like it was really gonna go down this way, and we're in shock, and so your whole world explodes, and the reality sets in like this is over, this is done, and so the thing that's kept me going, and I'm not saying I have it all figured out, because I do have moments where I'm just like by myself, and I'm just like, wow. But I try to stay really busy, take the focus off of me, and focus on my friends and their problems, and talking. And that's why I really was drawn to, live streaming early on. And I went backwards and got into podcasting, taking my live streaming show, made it a podcast version, because it's very therapeutic. And because you can be very transparent and real. And it's, not to say some people need to go to counseling. I've been to lots of counseling over the last 6 years, marriage counseling, individual counseling, not to discredit counselors because they're fantastic. But for me, it's almost a cheaper way. It's very therapeutic when I can get real. And I don't think I've done that on my show yet as far as my marriage goes, because I want to be respectful to my ex, just for those reasons, because eventually I will talk about it. But it's gonna take some time, because it's mother of my children. I have children. I got to be respectful because it's not over yet. And that in itself, talking about it, that's when the healing begins. I believe in the Bible says, confess to one another and you will be healed. So that's kind of the philosophy there, is the more you talk about it and not try to hide it, be very transparent about it, then whatever situation you're going through, you're going to start to see the light.
I really appreciate you being open with that, Jeff, because, we're far from the only ones that have junk in our lives, and anybody that, if you're like me, so if I get junk in my life, I tend to slow down and kind of get very negative about life in general. And it's not the right way to handle things, but that's kind of how I tend to go. And then I don't want to work. And that's kind of, when the poop hits the fan of my life, that's kind of how I tend to go. It's been encouraging for me watching you, and I know it's not all the time, but you've been encouraging to people around you. And this is just on Facebook, just encouraging the people around you. And then also seeing you on fire for what you got going on in your life, even in this season of change, and just rolling with it.
Yeah, you got to. You only live once, and the thing is with your audience are more likely creative people. Mm-hmm. Is you only live once. Take those dreams inside you, no matter what's going on in your life, because you can't use a divorce or even a sickness that's holding you down to stop. Obviously, sickness, you have your limitations of what you can do, but literally don't let anything hold you back, because time is limited, and you don't want to be, if you're fortunate enough to be laying in your bed dying, you don't want to look back and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that's what I say, be wise in your decisions. With being a creative, you obviously can't quit your job and go, I want to be a full-time broadcaster, and you have no connections to do it. you got to be wise. Take your steps, write things down, journal, write it in your iOS notes, whatever you need to do, but make steps to go in that direction, what makes you tick inside, and chase those dreams and achieve them. And you really just can't make an excuse. I mean, because at the end of the day, you can't blame anybody else if you're not doing what you love to do. You got to blame yourself on that at the end of the day if you're not doing what you love to do. And sometimes you might have to work a job that you don't want to work. Because the internet's changed everything for entertainment. It's changed it for films. It's changed it for music. It's changed it for comedians. Whatever you do, it's changed it. But you're going to have to adapt and figure out new ways. How can I make a living doing this? Because this is what I love to do. And don't quit. You're going to get a lot of doors slammed in your face. You'll get great jobs sitting on top of the world. And next week, you're like, what happened? Don't quit. Don't ever quit.
I love that, Jeff. Thanks so much for sharing that. So, the Jeff Adams Show. When, where, how?
Yeah, it's, we're adapting. I was gone for a good 8 to 9 months, and we're back. Was doing it 4 days a week, but you can check it out at jeffadamsshow.tv, or you can go to the Facebook to the Jeff Adams Show page on Facebook and watch us there. We've been experimenting different platforms, but we're on TuneIn Radio on the TJS Media portal there, and we're on the Adora FM network through Spreaker. A bunch of podcasters there. So we got a lot going on. We got a lot of new ground to cover because we're in beta mode, testing things out. I've got a smaller studio now in my rent-a-house of a living room. No dining room, just lights, cameras, and video switchers and radio boards and all kinds of gadgets. But you can check us out Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, either on Facebook Live or the jeffadamsshow.tv.
Awesome. And there's a replay on that?
Yeah, there's always a replay. You can always I stream it back out to different portals like Stream Up, Ustream. There's always a feed going, so you can enjoy it there, or you can watch it on demand. We have a Roku channel. If you got a Roku box, the Jeff Adams Show is on Roku. Soon to be on Apple TV as well. And so just search Google, and you'll find a format that fits you. If you like audio, we have all that as well.
Yeah, I would link to that stuff in the show notes, but I don't know if I have that much room. You're all over the place.
You got to be these days. If you're not utilizing your platform and what you do, you just got to be everywhere, man. You got to think of everything possible to hit as much people as you possibly can.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking your time. How can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me at any social media place. I'm pretty much there at the. Just look for The Jeff Adams, or on Facebook, The Jeff Adams Show. Type that in, or on Twitter, The Jeff Adams, or at Instagram, The Jeff Adams. So wherever, man. It's just wherever social media is at, I'm pretty much there. So you can find me there.
Awesome, bro. This has been great, and we'll just say goodbye. Thank you again, Jeff.
All right, thanks for having me.
Boy, that was some great stuff there with Jeff. I loved everything that he had to talk about when it comes to live streaming. I agree with it all 100%. It really comes down to what do you want to do to help market your film? And, one thing that he really kind of brushed over real quick, he said, you got this Facebook page that you should have up for 2 years now, talking about if you're releasing your film right now. And that's something that I see people kind of missing, is that they're not marketing their film while they're in pre-production. And I think you're kind of missing a prime opportunity right there. People are getting better at it right now because they need to rely on that for crowdfunding. But if you're not using crowdfunding, I see people kind of missing that boat a little bit. What I really wanted to expand on was the idea that you only live once. And Jeff talked about that. We heard that in the opening clip. But what Jeff talked about really moved me. Jeff's got all this junk going on in his life. We all have hardships. I love this quote that says, you're either headed into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm. And really, that's what life is. We all have these storms going on around us, or we're in it. And what are we going to do? Are we going to, be like what I usually do, which I admitted to? My usual move is that I just kind of get depressed and don't want to do much. Well, we can't be living that way. And as we mature and grow, hopefully we move out of if your mentality is like mine, I've changed and grown and been able to move into something that's a little bit more reasonable, where I can handle my emotions a little bit better. But, there's people around me that are counting on me, those things. Anyway, I'm getting off track of what I really wanted to encourage you with. You only live once, so why not make the most of it? Is it making that film? Is it taking a chance as an actor? Is it, going after, some project that you have a dream about, dream of making? You better do it. You get one shot at this, and I hate the idea that I come to the end of my life and I'm like, man, I really blew it. I want to feel like I did the best I could, with what I had. I took advantage of the opportunities that were there, helped create some of my own, and just made the most out of life. We got one shot at this, and who knows how long we each get, Could be here one day and gone the next, and that's how it works. So I just encourage you, as long as it's not detrimental to your family. And in my opinion, your family, should be your number one priority. You're taking care of them just like Jeff is. He's taking care of his kids. Then you pursue that dream that you have. No complaining. You just go out and do it. I'm having more fun now, than I ever have in my life. And I'm not near anywhere I want to be with any of the projects that I have in mind, but I'm getting to do stuff that I thought would never happen. So I want to encourage you, you only live once. And we're going to fade out on this song. It's a pretty famous Tim McGraw song, Live Like You Were Dying. And ain't that the truth? God bless. Love you all. Go and grow.
He said I was finally the husband, and most of the time I wasn't. And I became a friend would like to have. And all of a sudden going fishing wasn't such an imposition. And I went 3 times that year, I lost my dad. Well, I finally read the good book, and I took a good long hard look at what I'd do if I could do it all again. And then I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. And I looked deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I've been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying. Like tomorrow was a gift, and you got eternity to think about what you do with it. What did you do with it? What did I do with it? What would I do with it? Skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. And I looked deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I watched an eagle as it was flying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying.